NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams is joining me from the bureau there. Given the description of this scene, and we saw that building, it looks pretty large. The police chief confirmed that. Apparently there is evidence and, a horrific nature. People have been attacked on every floor of that building. What does it tell you, Pete, about the scope of the suspect's rampage?
Every floor of the building except the basement, the police chief says. So it's clear that Dwayne Craddock, the 40-year-old civil engineer and employee in the building, had planned this in advance. The authorities say he had bought his guns within the past several weeks, as well as these high-capacity magazines. And the significance of those are the magazines are the clips that hold the rounds that go into the gun. And that allows someone with a weapon to fire it repeatedly before having to reload. And the police chief says that they found several empty or spent magazines, indicating that there were probably hundreds of rounds fired, not only at the victims, but also in this long gun battle with police. And that, as the police chief says, he was firing indiscriminately, ranging all over the building. The question is what set him off, and we still don't know the answer to that. Now, some law enforcement people have said they thought he had been fired, but the police chief insisted that when the shooting happened, Craddock was still an employee, he had a valid pass, and that was another key to the access to the building, because members of the public coming into that building would have access on the first floor where the offices that they would interact with city employees. But to get into the rest of the building, you needed a pass to be able to unlock the doors, and Craddock had that very thing. So that aided him in carrying out the shooting. The silencer is also significant because, as Ron pointed out, silencers have been somewhat controversial because of the argument that they make it harder for victims to know how close the gunfire is coming from, and also harder for police to know where it is. As for the motive, though, the police chief says he was still employed, but we don't know whether he was told that he wouldn't be employed much longer, or disciplined, or demoted, or was there some precipitating event, and the police have not yet said what that is, if they, in fact, they know, Alex.
Okay, Pete, when we spoke earlier, you said that the suspect was able to purchase his firearm, a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol, something that's very common by your description. He purchased it legally.
Right.
However, what about this suppressor, a.k.a. silencer? Are those legal? Are those easy to buy?
They are legal. They're not easy to buy, and here is the reason. They're legal in most states, I should say. There's, I think, 8 states that ban them, but Virginia is not one of those states. They are regulated, however, and have been ever since the 1930s. To buy one, you have to register with the ATF, and you have to go into the gun store, fill out several forms, show some IDs, leave fingerprints, and then ATF has to approve the registration. However, it's happened something like 1 million times in the last couple of years, so it's not impossible to get one. It's just a little bit difficult, and we are still trying to sort out whether, in fact, Craddock had gone through that process or not to get a silencer. There has been legislation pending in Congress for the past couple of years to remove this restriction, because advocates of lowering the access to these say that it's good for the hearing of the person using a firearm for sporting purposes. There's less recoil, that they're just a better thing for people who use sports shooting. But those legislative efforts have been set back in the past by mass shootings, and I suspect that a mass shooting in which a silencer was actually used would be a setback as well.
Okay, Pete Williams in Washington. Pete, thank you so much.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.